In all of our work on kind of high performance innovation and innovation leadership and what it takes to be successful, three major dimensions of innovation have emerged. One of them is, how do you make innovation real? How do you create strategic direction for your company or organization? So that's the first one. The second one is really, how do you make it happen? How do you create results? How do you activate the capacity you have in your organization and others to make sure you deliver the results that you want? So that's the second one. That's really, as I said, making it happen. The third one is making it stick, making innovation sustainable, following through with discipline so that you can continue to innovate year after year, as leaders like Apple and Toyota and others have done. So those are the three basic dimensions of high performance innovation leadership, and we'll be talking in other segments about the key competencies and the key tools and approaches that companies take and that you will need to take to be successful in each of these three areas. So what I'd like to do in this intro discussion is talk about what's kind of a fundamental platform or fundamental foundation that you need to achieve in each of these three areas. The first one, in terms of kind of making it real and creating strategic direction, you really need to have a foundation of what we like to refer to as I-cubed. It's really having insight, intelligence, and ideas from a wide enough variety of sources in your company, outside your company, in the marketplace, so that you really can have a comprehensive and focused view of what the innovation landscape is, where the opportunities are, what reasonable stretch targets are, etc. So really having a handle on kind of insights in the marketplace, insights about the competition, intelligence, competitive intelligence about technology or products or customers, and ideas, most of which may be fragments, but how do you source all of that and put it together to really be a foundation for good strategic planning and target setting? So that's the first foundation that's really important. People often talk about it as open sourcing and crowdsourcing and intelligence gathering and market research, but it's finding a quick way to assemble all of that into a coherent view of a field that is, by its nature, extremely complex, ambiguous, uncertain, but you can't, that's no excuse not to pull together all the insight, intelligence, and ideas you can so that you can get your arms around it and decide where the hot spots are and where to focus. So that's one. That's all around, as I say, setting strategy, making innovation real to your company, and having a foundation for a strategic imperative. The second one is really having a solid understanding of the innovation value chain. This is really critical to being able to make results happen. Because if you don't understand who the key influencers are, who the key decision makers are, who your lead customers are, no matter how good the product or offering or how great the innovation, you aren't going to get there from here. You're going to be a day late and a dollar short. So in this section of kind of what it takes to be leaders, it's really important to get a foundational understanding of that value chain. And you can think of that value chain both within your company or your organization in terms of the key influencers and decision makers and how you create a much more seamless process within your company for getting things launched, but also clearly across the extended enterprise. What's the innovation value chain from concept to customer? What does it look like? What does it feel like? How do you run a process across that value chain? How do you build partnerships and win-win relationships, both upstream and downstream, across the value chain? And how do you use other people's resources, both your own resources, your own money, other people's people? How do you really use that so that you can create a system that really drives results rapidly to the marketplace? So that's the second one. The third one, which we've called making innovation stick, making it sustainable, following through with discipline, The foundation of this is a solid understanding of the culture and climate in which you are trying to drive innovation. Because if you're going to make it sustainable, if you're going to make it something you can do year after year, you really need to understand both the written and unwritten rules of your organization, the nature of how people behave and express their leadership, both within the organization and beyond, and then the metrics that really drive people's behavior kind of within that context of climate and culture. So having a solid understanding of, as I say, both the written rules, the unwritten rules that guide the organization's behavior, those are you may be able to change those over the long term, but the fundamental finding of most research is it's very difficult to change them in the short term. And so really understanding what they are, how to work around ones that may be getting in your way, how to strengthen ones that are really the key drivers for high performance leadership, that's the third element that you really need to nail. So again, the three elements: making it real, making it happen, making it stick. The foundations of those: I-cubed, insight, intelligence, and ideation. The innovation value chain, from concept to customer, inside and outside your organization. And the climate and culture of both your organization and the market within which you're working. So what I'd like to do is kind of end this kind of brief discussion with that, have you think about some of the companies that have really kind of nailed those dimensions, certainly in kind of strategy and strategic imperative. You can think of companies like Tata, you can think of people like Steve Jobs and Apple, you can think of companies like Pfizer who have really built powerful pipelines. But those are the kinds of companies you can think about that have really been able to put a strategic imperative in place and stretch targets that really drive the organization. In the second area, you can think of organizations like Procter & Gamble with Connect and Develop. You can think of organizations like, I have to cut this, so I forgot. Organizations like Cisco, who really made partnering and networking a fundamental premise of how they innovate as well as of their business. You can think of organizations like Southwest in terms of how they manage their assets and resources and investments across multiple horizons to win in an extremely difficult capital-intensive industry that's subject to wild fuel price volatility, et cetera. So think of those kinds of companies when you think of the innovation value chain and companies who really understand who's upstream and downstream and who the key influencers and decision makers are. And in terms of making innovation stick, you can think of companies as diverse as Natura and their efforts to really drive long-term sustainable innovation across their more than 1 million sales consultants in the field, across their leadership, across their innovation academy. You can think of companies like Google, who really put in place a culture that lasts year